you couldn't change your survivor or killer for 5 rounds, which characters would you choose? In this video, I will be going over some of the best survivors and killers that you can choose to ensure you win. Also, just a little side note, this is different from the content that I'd normally make, so if you like these videos, then maybe consider subscribing. My goal is to get 4,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. Anyway, on to the video. Some of you probably already expected this one. 2Time, which used to be one of the most hated survivors before, but has now become one of the best, if not the best, survivor. 2Time has 80 health and 3 abilities: Dagger, Crouch, and Ritual. Using your Dagger ability will make you get thrown forward and stab anything in your way, gaining Resistance 3 for a short amount of time. If you hit your stab, you deal 25 damage as well as healing 10 health. However, if you land a backstab, it'll do 35 damage and stun the killer for 4 seconds, getting 20 health in the process. Every time you hit the killer, a bar on the right side of your screen fills up closer and closer to the top. Crouching and then using the dagger will launch you even further. Crouching allows you to become semi-transparent and crouch down a few studs. Crouching also makes you indetectable from Cool Kid and 1X's minions. Your Ritual ability allows you to place a spawn point for your second life. However, you'll only get your second life if your dagger bar is filled to the top. And you may be asking, how is 2Time the best? He only has 80 health and 40 in his second life. If you play 2Time right, he can be really overpowered, especially in huge groups. If it gets into the wrong hands, it can be deadly. I've seen rounds where killers have almost died and half died, even playing as 1X or John Doe. It's absolutely insane. If another survivor is running by, you can wait for the perfect opportunity to hide yourself behind a wall and wait for the killer to pass by and go in for the backstab. Or, if another 2Time does get a backstab, you can go in and get another stab for your health and Ritual while they're stunned. And, not to mention, if you reach last man standing without activating your second life, it'll automatically be activated and you'll given 110 health, which can be absolutely overpowered if teamed with a dagger. Overall, 2Time is a very useful survivor if they are played correctly. Guest 1337 can be great if they're played correctly. Guest has 115 health, which is more than the average survivor. He has 3 different abilities: Block, Charge, and Punch. Blocking allows you to avoid being hit by the killer for 1 second, unless if it's a projectile, then it won't work. Please, just don't try it. During a block, you're about 80% slower, so if you land a block, you'll be given Speed 1 for 3 seconds and the ability to punch. Blocking and then immediately punching 1 second after will become a parry, which does more damage and stuns the killer for even longer. Charging makes Guest charge forward for roughly 1.5 seconds. Hitting a killer will push them forward and lock their abilities for a small amount of time. Guest can obviously be played very well if they know how to be unpredictable. If you're predictable, then there's a good chance that they'll avoid the block, leading you to probably dying. Trust me, it's happened to me a lot. If you're unpredictable, however, then you can land your blocks and punches onto the killer, and that could possibly save your life, or save someone else's life. For example, you can easily get a punch if you run on top of a survivor that is currently getting attacked and blocked since you have higher priority. You can use those punches to cancel certain attacks from the killer, such as Mass Infection. Overall, if you know how to play Guest, he can be unstoppable. Now, let's move on to the killers. Jason is the starter killer that you get from joining the game for the first time, and he might be seen as the worst killer because, he's a starter character. However, he's actually one of the best in the game. Jason has 4 different abilities: Slash, Behead, Gashing Wound, and Raging Pace. Slash is pretty self-explanatory, doing 20 damage. Behead does 20 damage as well, and locks the victim's abilities for 14 seconds. Yeah, 14 seconds, that is a wow. Gashing Wound does 50 damage over the span of a few seconds, in which they cannot escape them. Activating Raging Pace makes you faster while being able to gain stamina and makes all of your abilities do a ton of more damage. Jason is terrifying if the player knows how to use him well. He can easily sneak up behind people while on a generator and use Gashing Wound, followed by Raging Pace, which does heavy damage. Another thing he could do is use Behead on different survivors, disabling their abilities for 14 seconds and allowing you to get some hits in. Jason also has a passive that makes his theme have a smaller radius compared to other killers, which can allow you to sneak up on someone much easier. Which is why Jason is absolutely terrifying. And the last killer that I've chosen to be on this list is John Doe, which has been seen by the community as being the worst killer in the game. Well, that's before some buffs and some tweaks, you know. But John Doe actually has a lot of potential. John Doe has 4 different abilities. Slash, which does 28 damage. Corrupt Energy, which shoots giant spikes out of the ground, dealing 12 damage each. Digital Footprint, which places a trap that slows down anyone who touches it, and 404 Error, which gives him the ability to see all current survivors. John Doe might be the best killer in the game because of his passives. He can only be stunned for a measly 2.175 seconds max. After being stunned, he's given speedrun for a few seconds, allowing him to catch up to the survivors. Not only that, he has a giant corruption shell that slowly does damage to anyone who touches it, even though it does eventually go away, but anyway. Even though he is slightly slower than other killers, he drains less stamina per second and gains more stamina per second. Thus, showing how John Doe just might be one of the best, if not the best killer in Forsaken. Just note that all this is my opinion and you might think a different survivor or killer is better. All this is just through my experience of playing each character multiple times. And if you somehow enjoyed this video, then maybe consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel, and I'd deeply appreciate it. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Andy, watch me do the Snoop Dogg emote.
Okay.
When the pit's in the credit man, drop it like it's hot.